Hello, everybody. The review for today is going to be a Plat 3 ranked game on Clubhouse. This is somebody that got a hold of us on Reddit, and he asked for a little bit of feedback because he's getting back into the game. So we're going to try and get some game sense back in him and see what we can do.
Yeah, so I was really excited about this game actually because this kind of Gold 1 Plat 3 range is where there's a really big step up into Plat 2 just in terms of consistency. And I think that's really going to be the name of the game here. We're going to be looking at kind of just min-maxing every opportunity, making sure that at every turn you're picking the exact right operator to perform the exact role that you're trying to fill within the team. And yeah, just making sure that you really start to nail down the subtler elements of the game and have the best possible teamwork opportunities. So let's see how this
Completely
goes.
agree. I can say I agree. I'm an expert.
Yeah. All right. So first thing to note, Clubhouse has changed, and our player here, Fabian.R6, not to be confused with the professional player from G2. We used to be a semi-competitive player, I guess, and took a bit of a hiatus from the game. So Clubhouse was reworked with this construction area on the second floor, and now the meta has really shifted. So the most common site is the one you're going to see now in CCTV and cache rather than the basement. So having a hard breacher here is really, really helpful in order to breach that east wall or to breach the northeast wall inside of construction. It just really gives you a much better access to planting on the site because what your team has right now, unfortunately, is going to make it rather difficult. I like that Jackal has the smokes with a little bit of fragging power, um, but unfortunately, without a thermite, you guys are going to have a hard time getting in this building. Now, this is a good angle to start with. I like this because it kind of allows you to contest a common spawn peak over here. You get a chance to shoot a guy, I think, when this bandit tries to rotate. Yeah, you're a bandit. I'm blind. It's hard to tell. Uh, but unfortunately, this is where we're going to start to stall out because we don't have the utility that's necessary to get in and to get the bomb down right now.
And that's what really this site is all about, is just stalling out the opposing team. And maybe not exactly winning on time, but effectively winning on time. Because if you can just put a lot of annoyance in the way of them getting into sight, you're gonna win pretty consistently. But once you let them get into sight, it's kind of hard to hold due to the way the angles are set up and all of the soft walls that if you don't get consistent reinforcements and all of that. And we'll see that here in a bit.
Yeah, so I like the idea that you're trying to make something happen with Jackal here. It's just unfortunate that these guys are going to be playing a very tight setup on site. We've got a little bit of a risk vaulting in here without droning. That I think, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of health is going to get lost there on the Maestro cam too.
And I don't like the little micro of leaving the visor up because you see the static that kind of goes anytime you get hit, and it makes aiming pretty hard, especially once you get muzzle flash that adds into it. On an ACOG, it's kind of hard to frag back.
Yeah, so what we're going to see happening now is Ash has taken the garage, which is great. What you guys need is to create as many kind of angles of approach as possible and as many threats that the defenders have to pay attention to as you can. I would say with two groups of two, you might be able to kind of create some sort of a pinch. Unfortunately, now someone's going to get taken down. We're going to be dealing with the bandit and holding this flank for Ash. I think this is probably the best you could have done right now, given that some of these things have gone wrong. Because now Ash is getting a chance to play entry frag, and you're making sure that she's not getting flanked and staying alive so that you can try and plant because you have the diffuser and the smoke grenades. Unfortunately, just takes a little bit too long because now you've got 15 seconds and very low HP, and bandit's going to get you.
I do think
So
standing back and not pushing up with Ash was definitely the correct play. It does suck that you did miss that shot, but I do think that was the right play.
yeah, I don't know. At that point, like with 30 seconds, I feel like that's when you have to kind of be working towards getting your smokes down and trying to get a plant or use that
That
as
is a
cover
good
to get
counter argument.
inside and fight someone at close range. Because it just, I mean, the real problem here, let's be clear, is just the lack of a hard breacher. And once you get into these higher ranks like Plat 3, you like if you don't have a hard breacher on a hard breach site, there's not a whole lot you can do because the defense is going to be stacked up with a lot of problems they're presenting you, like mirrors, goo mines, and those maestro cams. So anyway, so on defense, we're going to see again the meta has shifted. The changes to blue with the addition of a staircase have made it a lot easier for the attackers to get in there and contest that, which has
Mhm.
made this site a lot harder to defend overall because you've got 3 hatches, 2 walls in construction, and then 3 walls in church on one side, 3 walls in church on the other side, and another 2 in armory. So this site it becomes so much more difficult to keep attackers out of it.
I do think that the Echo choice was a very good choice here. Um, because the way this site is, it's so large, you're effectively going to have to be in sight the whole time unless you are playing upstairs. Um, and so Echo, I think Echo and Maestro are my two favorites for once you know you have to be in sight. Just be in sight and do what you do best. So I do think this was the good pick.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely down with the use of Echo here if you have to. I'd try both upstairs sites first, honestly, at this point, just with how this map works now that it's been changed. Um, I'm gonna badger people about this every week. I like the idea of getting just every bit of surveillance you can at the beginning of the round. Whether that's for the first 5 seconds, just getting on an outside cam and seeing what operators they've brought, because that might give you some insight into what they're trying. I don't know. I like trying to again just get that every little bit possible. So here, defending church is a smart idea. You guys have an LS, so you've got a little bit of and a legion, excuse me. So you've got a lot of traps that will kind of tell you where people are coming from. As long as your teammates communicate that, they won't necessarily do that.
This is
But
very good
I like
information
this.
here.
Yeah, we've got surveillance and construction. This is smart play.
And you know it's a thermite, which is even a little bit more information as opposed to Habana making a crouch hold.
Yeah, I think the one criticism I will make here, just because it's this is a tough game and we have to be picky because it's a hard game to win when you go against good players. There's no one in a position to really stop thermite right now or to take advantage of what's being seen on this echo drone. If someone wants to play that spot, a smoke can be really effective in there. A legion can be pretty effective in there for setting up a nice easy pick on that. Some of those hard angles that they have to walk through. Fortunately, the Zofia is going to come down, get a little crossfire there, and we're going to be caught out with a 3v3, but a couple weak players, and no one's calling out anymore.
The Legion mines are the only real information you have about where this Habana ends up. That's
Yeah,
a
so
tough fight to take.
I agree. So that here, this round, I wouldn't say this is like, oh man, this is your fault, you lost it. But I think there were a couple opportunities to potentially direct your Legion or somebody into dirt to go and contest that thermite while he was alone, while he was trying to drone ahead of himself and he didn't really know what was going on. You guys might have been able to hit him. The Zofia still would have got in and got the 2 picks that you gave up because your teammates made mistakes. But again, you might have had a chance to get the pick and maintain that dirt tunnel as a safe place to contest the people trying to come in for blue.
We're back on attack, and I do think that there is an issue again with the hard breacher, if I remember correctly. We know that they've won cash, so we don't have to worry about fighting there. So it's between Jim and downstairs, and they'll most likely take Jim.
Yeah, I see people go both ways on this. Unfortunately, both of those are really good hard breach sites. Having a thermite to get into the construction, the dirt tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and a Hibana to deal with the hatches, or have thermite do one of the hatches and then you have Hibana use one of her charges now on the mirror. That can be a really great way to deal with the mirror.
Yeah.
Um, so
There,
I understand the Twitch pick here. I love Twitch. I play her all the time, but because you guys do lack hard destruction, could be a problem in this round, and you might run into that same issue where it's hard to kind of force things through when all you're working with is the Twitch drone.
So the thing about Clubhouse that I do notice more than other maps, and it goes for most of the sites on Clubhouse, is it's a pretty good map for having two or all three of your hard breachers, because there's so many hatches, there's so many walls to the outside. You want to open up garage, or you want to open up this wall up here that we're looking at to get into cache. It's good to have a thermite. Maverick's good for both of those as well if you want to contest. Um, and that there is unfortunate.
Just unluckers.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. You were firing.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I will say, and it's not really an in-game thing, but if you do say like "oops" or "sorry" over the mic, I don't know, it reassures your team at least a little bit, and like they don't think that you're just a complete asshole for killing and then moving.
Yeah. To be
But
clear, we're not saying you're an asshole. We're just
no,
we know that tensions get high in R6, and doing everything you can to diffuse that can be helpful in the solo queue environment.
definitely your soft skills, as you would put it, like in a professional sense, are huge in solo queue. It's something I do harp on a lot, but one of those things like it also could hurt you if you say "oops."
Yeah. It, there's no foolproof way of handling it. Unfortunately, here, yeah, again, you guys just don't have a lot of the utility necessary to force something forward, and the roam clear is unsuccessful because, now this map, it used to be that you could just kind of roll through this bar and then you'd have control of all the rotations. But
Mm-hmm.
with that extra staircase in blue, it becomes a lot more difficult to watch all of your flanks at the same time, especially when one of your teammates runs in front of you and gets himself killed so early. Um, but what I would love to see is making use of the Twitch drone to destroy the mirrors, finding an opportunity earlier in the round to get that Claymore down, secure some sort of safe space for yourself in order to do your twitching from, and then to kind of work your way down here, because we've got a lot of peeking into angles that you don't know anything about throughout this round.
And you do seem pretty indecisive. You spent a lot of time on the first floor trying to figure out exactly which avenue you want to take to go downstairs, because you decided that the main stairs probably wasn't the best plan with that mirror there. You shot at the Legion, so the Legion knows somebody's probably there. And you spent a lot of time just trying to find your avenue, but it wasn't.
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to just having those hard breachers is so critical once you get into these higher levels, because their defense was set up in a way that really didn't give you a good avenue of attack. You tried every single one of them, and unless you're able to neutralize, some of their bigger threats like the mirrors, and then kind of force something through behind it, Ying's Candela or Glaz peeking through smoke, or Zofia making everyone's mouse stop working. It's just really difficult to get anywhere against a team that has a good setup in this kind of plat 3, almost plat 2 range. And that's where people make the biggest jump, right? The most common advice is to get a team. Obviously, we totally endorse that.
Absolutely.
But we also recognize that like solo queue happens sometimes, and you have to work on your solo queue skills too. If you want to make it there, the best soft skills you can have to engage your teammates, and the
And
most consistent setups you can come up with
play
that
operators like
hit
Legion.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
he
Oh yeah,
gives you
okay,
a
that's right.
ton of information.
We love the Legion pick here. Because we watched a couple other games from Fabian, and we think it's really important because the meta has shifted now these days, right? To where traps and surveillance are so much more powerful than they used to be, and you can really take advantage of those now. So Legion can kind of, play a fighting retreat through the round, just keep throwing out those goo mines. The longer he's alive, the more of them he gets, and they tell you where everybody's coming from. I love this trick to get rid of the Hibana pellets. It does, it relies on your teammates to kind of have a successful roam, to keep the main stairs covered and everything. But as far as playing the operator, this is playing Legion really, really effectively. You're taking advantage of his impacts. You're generating more and more goo, and you're not going to let anybody in. I do want to nitpick the goo placements. Some of these interior spots, like inside of the doorway from dirt, are useful spots to have a goo, but maybe not the best place to put your first goo mine. You want your first goo mine a little bit farther out at a place that might be harder for you to get to later. just so that it's giving you advance warning of where somebody's coming in. Because now that you've already got another one, you could be putting it down in the close spot now.
And one other nitpick is I don't believe you reinforced this round, and I didn't see anyone go into construction. The bandit may have gotten it, but I know you didn't. And so you got it last round, and so it's one of those things that your teammates might just assume that you're going to get construction again, and they don't even check on it. So just be aware.
Yeah, it's minor, but all those minor things add up.
It's all about the small edges.
Yeah, so now I guess we're just kind of settling in over time, but this is the play that you've kind of come up with, that we're going to keep this kitchen hatch closed using the impact grenades. And that's going to give us somewhere to play from, which is going to make them really have a hard time planting inside of Arsenal and force them to push church where we have a mirror. So by doing this, you're forcing them into your team's best utility, and I think this is a really solid play.
And if they do waste a Hibana on this hatch, it's one less they have on the other hatches. And so if you can get 2 here, then looks like Stock or Moto. They have to choose between the 2 of them to take out. And if your roamers are up there doing their job, that's a lot of time for them to be sitting in kitchen. Good job there. It worked out just perfectly.
So I think that was actually Thermite, which means you could get both of them and allow them no hatches, which would be great.
And that was something when we were watching before. I was thinking like, man, he really needs to move. Like they're gonna get him, but hit the shot, and that's what matters, I guess.
Yeah, and I think he knows that angle, that it's kind of hard to wedge yourself in around the cooking apparatus there.
Yeah,
there's like a stove, so their head can only get so far over. I think he may have been playing that. I don't know that angle that well, so I don't want to be too critical. But there we go, nice wall bang. So this round was overall really good, right? You're playing Legion for what Legion is meant to do, which is perfect.
It's not the most exciting round from the viewer standpoint, but it's very effective. And really, I mean, like, effective.
Yeah, and I think that's something we should definitely point out, is that sometimes doing nothing is okay if like that's your operator's job. To let time go on. If you're smoke and you're not doing anything, you're getting better and better every second.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, rather, if you're not being forced to do something, if you're doing nothing because doing nothing is okay, if you're getting on cams for your teammates, that's even better. But he was sitting there denying a hatch and securing space for his team, essentially, which is awesome. We love it. So here again, I'm like,
you almost had
Thatcher,
the Hibana.
Yeah. The Thatcher pick is like, I love the idea of being like the utility pick for your team, taking Thatcher, but you guys don't have hard breaching again. I'm like, oh wait, like we knew this team, no one else wanted to pick the hard breachers. And like I've been there, I've had games where I feel like I want to play more of a hard carry operator than a breacher, but what you need is the breach. You got to be Mr. Breacher man. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah,
he's taking the utility. I think he's just taking the wrong utility. Like, I don't know. I see hard breachers as utility. Probably it's just a semantic thing. The most important utility. Good to be useful. Just maximize your usefulness. Find the biggest margin.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm just thinking, I get in situations where like I want to friend and I don't feel like Thermite is the guy to do that on.
Yeah.
I want a comfort pick to Twitch or IQ, or is someone who I just feel like I can do a little bit more on, but
and that's
really I mean Thermite can frag, you get your thing open and now you're de facto entry fragger. But anyway, we don't want to be like super critical here, beat a dead horse, but
I do like you watching for this bandit run out.
Idea. Yeah.
Especially like Bandit, Pulse, Valkyrie, any of them can run out now, and we've seen it before. So that's very good. Their part checking for cams is good.
I would love to see a drone coming in here first, just in case. But like Sledge is up there, I don't know. If you're looking for the camera first when someone could be in the doorway to kill you, I think you just got to change the priorities there, where you check the angle to make sure you're safe first,
I will
and then
say
you go
that
and shoot the camera.
there is a good argument for just running in, because if Sledge is in there and he dies, you do want to refrag instead of being on your drone and then being second or two late.
Yeah, it's a good shot from the window. Yeah, still, I'm looking. We've got players playing windows and not a lot of people droning and kind of figuring out where the opportunities are to compromise this defense and get past it. Because here again, like without the hard breach, you kind of have to just frag the fuck out. I like that you're aware that someone just died and that you can try and get the refrag here. You guys just don't have anything open to kind of to do that.
And you're not droning them out. Like we talked about last week with the video with OmniFree, like trophy, like my goal is to drone them out, find them, kill them. You're doing the killing them part, like that's what you have in mind, but you're not doing the droning them out. And if we would have drone Bandit, we would have had a whole lot of information that he has both sides of the map to try and shoot, instead of watching just the left side on yours.
Yeah. So overall, there's your game, and we want to recognize that some percentage of your games are unwinnable, some are unlosable, and it's what you do with the ones in between that matters the most. This game may not necessarily have ended up becoming fully winnable. The teammates may not have cooperated with calls, but the difference between getting into Plat 2 from Plat 3 is just being consistent about ensuring that you're always making the call outs for your team. You're always bringing, the things that your team needs to get into the site to have access,
Mm-hmm.
and that brings your unwinnable percentage lower and lower and lower. Like the better your plans are, the more you can kind of wrangle the cats that are your teammates into submission. Um, you just you lose just that many fewer games and you start climbing as long as you play enough. But yeah, like I said, he's got the skills, he's got game sense. I think it's just some adjustments to the new meta, using the traps as effectively as possible, and picking the new meta sites on the reworked clubhouse or some of the other completely new maps. And I think we'll see improvement for sure.
Yeah, and we watched one or two of the other games, I think, from this play session, and one of the things we noted on a game from Villa was just lazy isn't quite the right word, but for a lack of a better word, laziness of just not quite looking the hardest, droning quite as effectively, not peeking the angles quite the way you should, pushing when you shouldn't push, staying back when you shouldn't. And it's stuff I can tell and especially if you played competitively or semi-competitive. At one point you knew these things, and if you just need to get it in your head again, just get it in your head again. Work on that. If it's just you're just not putting all your effort in, maybe look at that as far as things that you can make effective change pretty quickly on. The rest of it, learning the meta, learning the maps, and the new angles, that's going to take time. And don't get too frustrated with that. But the effort and the droning and stuff like that you know how to do, you just got to put the oomph into it.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it is that you have the game sense. It's just a little bit rusty, so it's not always a step ahead like it used to be. And getting it back to that point just requires being really intentional, and again, just looking for every tiny little advantage that you can leverage and making sure that you're doing every one of those things as consistently as possible.
And one of the things I
Yeah,
say to Fender all the time when he said intentional is, if you don't know why you're doing something, you probably shouldn't be. And so
yeah,
it's like, if you're not thinking things through and planning ahead a little bit, and you're just kind of running on autopilot, you really need to take a step back and like really work on, just talk to yourself. If you're streaming, especially, just talk to yourself. Doing this because of this, I saw a guy here, so I'm going to push this angle and stuff like that, and it'll grind those habits in a lot faster, I found.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'm thinking of when you're being intentional is, when you go back and look at your own plays, say, okay, Like what I wanted to do was hold the main stairs here, or watch dirt tunnel. And you're like, okay, I was trying to do that. It's not like I completely neglected it, but did I pick, the single best operator to do that with? Is there a way that I could have taken this from a fair fight and made it an unfair fight? Is there a way to make it so that this guy is concussed and he has no escape route and he can't sprint because he's gooed? How can you just engineer every single thing to be in your favor when you fight somebody? Because that is a shift in the meta that has happened. As the increase in trap operators, the increase in people who can make your mouse stop working. You've
Top
got a
of that,
lot
a
more,
lot of info.
yeah, but you've got a lot more. I call them gimmicks. I don't mean it in the sense of like, oh my god, they're all horrible and they should all go. But you know what I mean, right? They're gimmicky. They're kind of changing the way that the fight happens. Things that are outside of just the I have better reticle placement reaction time than you do. That has all proliferated, and just the more consistent you are about utilizing that, the more you're going to win.
I agree with all of that. Well, is there anything else you want to add?
That's everything I can think of off the top. Just good luck. You're going to be good. Just make sure you're being intentional and refining those small mistakes, small things that you're overlooking, and you'll be fine. You're a really good player, Fabian. Good luck.
Definitely, definitely. Carry me to platinum. Well, I do want to say thank you for sending this in, because we were kind of unsure about reviewing gameplay from a plat player, because it's about our play level, if not a little bit higher. Especially me. Fender's a bit better than me, but
Yeah, I usually end up in plat, but
yeah. No, I'm a
I'm
mid
not
to
the
high
world's
gold.
best player by any means.
It's one of those things where we can look. But I'm glad you sent it in to us so we could watch it. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that it helped. If anybody else wants to send it in, please send it in to us on Reddit.
We're getting submissions. We're really grateful for them. So keep them coming, and we'll keep making videos.